Hi, and welcome to the Theme Park Duo podcast. Grab your park map, churro, and hop in line with us as we take you on a coast-to-coast adventure through the world of theme parks, haunts, conventions, and more. Now, here's your hosts, Nikki and Gabriel.
Hello, and welcome back to another fascinating episode of the Theme Park Duo podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Nikki.
And I'm your other host, Gabriel.
And our topic today is the future of theme parks.
Today's a little bit of a special day, isn't it?
Yeah, we have a very special guest with us.
Yeah, so normally we do the news first, and then we let the guest in. We made them wait outside in the cold, make them really want the warmth of the room, because then they want to stay, because normally they would just leave.
You're acting like we force people to stay and record podcasts with us.
Because we don't. No.
Our chair doesn't have chains on it.
No, right? Not at all. No chains whatsoever. Anyway, we have a very special guest today, and it's Rick West from Theme Park Adventure and Midsummer Scream.
Hi, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we usually, like we said, we usually wait for the guests to come in after the news, but you're kind of the news today.
Wow. I've been
pressure.
called a lot of things, but
is that offensive?
News, no.
Okay.
Unless it's like the GNU news, then you're calling me like a big new, and I'm like,
definitely not that.
This is like the headline news.
So one of the big things that a lot of people know Rick from is Theme Park Adventure, which is your amazing website where you do lots of coverage of theme parks, as well as Midsummer Scream, which we'll be talking about here as we head into our first segment, Haunting Headlines. So, Rick, there's a lot of news going on in the Halloween world, lots of things to cover. I know that you guys have been working day and night to bring such an incredible event to all the fans of Southern California.
We're getting pretty close. We're about the 2-month mark.
You're crowning.
I think so. We were.
That's awkward.
But it's amazing because last year we had 2.5-3 months to put the entire thing together.
And
right?
you wouldn't know. It was fantastic.
Well, thank you. It's just weird that we've had the entire year now, the normal amount of time to plan a convention, and it feels like eerily calm, Knock on wood. I'm going to knock on every piece of wood I can here, but everything has just fallen into place so nicely because everything went so smoothly last year for us that everybody immediately was like, oh my God, let's talk about 17. And so here we are, and everything has really fallen into place very nicely for us. We've been announcing some really big things, and we have a few more things that we're going to be announcing over the next week or two, and then it's pretty much we're taxied out on the runway, ready for takeoff, right?
Time.
At this point, we're already well into talking about 2018 stuff, as well as we've had some 2019 discussions already.
Whoa.
Goodness gracious! So how could you plan that far ahead?
You got to. So we're because we're booked, right? We're everything's solid, and we're like, oh my God, that would be a great panel, and we just go, nope, 18. So that we've already got stuff that we're working on for 2018. So that's kind of the way that ball rolls.
Well, inevitably, when you bring that many creative people in one room, you're going to come up with so many great ideas.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
So, yeah. I fell in love with a lot of the panels that you guys had last year, and I could only imagine how great they're going to be this year.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We're really looking forward to having all of the theme parks back again, of course, We have Knott's, we have Universal, we've got Six Flags Magic Mountain, we've got Queen Mary, we've got Winchester Mystery House is going to be coming back down again. That presentation is going to be hosted actually by Doug Barnes of the Season Pass.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
that sexy deep voice of his.
That you bet. We're really excited about that, and to have all those guys back. And then, of course, we announced the Beyond the Fifth Dimension, creating the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror presentation.
Now, that's a sore subject for a lot of people.
It's going to be interesting, right? It's a hot button, which is one of the reasons we decided to make that a thing. Obviously, it is. It's a big, especially here in Southern California, obviously, where we have lost our Tower of Terror.
It's like clickbait.
There you go, right? But we have a really good presentation with some of the people that really brought this thing to life and breathed life into it. I mean, from Mark Silverman, who is obviously the voice of Rod Serling, and everybody is going to wet themselves a little bit when he does the spiel live, for everybody, to Michael Sprout, who was the show writer, who was the guy that said, one dark and stormy night, that's and I love that because that's what I do for a living is show writing. So to have the show writer of an attraction that is so near and dear to my heart be on our presentation, I'm kind of fanboy giddy about that as well. So that's going to be a great presentation. It's going to be a lot of fun, and
it'll be interesting to see their opinion too of what has happened to the attraction that they worked so hard on.
We're definitely going to get into that. I mean, there's a lot of ground to cover. We're going to talk about the inception of it for the Disney MGM Studios in Orlando, and then how it kind of progressed across the globe. And so that conversation, that's going to be a really fast hour before it disappears into the fifth dimension. Right? So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. And we got a lot of good stuff coming up. We got a lot of really cool special guests. We just announced Leanna Vamp is going to be there. And so she brings a huge audience of cosplayers and cosplay fans to us. So we're really excited to have her out with us, and all sorts of things that we're still rolling out.
So you act real nefarious here. You're kind of hiding a lot of things here, right?
Well, I just got to be careful what I say, because everything is just about fully baked, but there are some things that we're letting simmer a little bit longer,
Are there things that you could share with our audience?
We're going to drop some nuggets here for you guys tonight.
Ooh, so this is the first time you're going to hear this thing, people.
This is
big news.
This is good stuff. I would be remiss not to talk about, we're talking about news. So the news of the day today is May 31st, and this is going to be tough to talk about.
Of course.
It already is. So a pillar of the haunt community here in Southern California, his name is Gary Corb. He created in 1973 the Hallowed Haunting Grounds in Studio City. And Gary, for the next 33 years, led a team of just creative home haunters, self-made home haunters. They were teenagers, they were kids, and they created this home haunt here in Los Angeles that was unlike anything anybody here in Southern California had ever seen. And they perfected it to really theme park quality over the 3 decades that they did it. And he really was the grandfather of home haunts here in the Southland, and has inspired so many haunts. I mean, you go to home haunts all over the Southland here, and there are tributes in these other home haunts to the Hallowed Haunting Grounds, which has always been very amazing. And so Gary and I have been friends for a long time. Well, Gary passed away yesterday, and he was taken too soon. He had a heart attack, and he died. And the entire community is reeling. We're reeling. And so what we are going to do is we are on Saturday at 5:30. I'm going to host a presentation at Midsummer that is the legacy of the Hallowed Haunting Grounds, and it is going to be a celebration of Gary's life and the inspiration that was created from Hallowed Haunting Grounds. And basically, we're going to show some media, because there'll be people in the audience that have never really seen what Haunting Grounds was about, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of fans and a lot of friends there. And the basic idea is just to come together as a group of haunters and friends of Gary's. And so we're still building the presentation, because this is obviously something very fresh, and unexpected. Unfortunately, this is not the presentation I would ever want to make. I'm going to moderate it, and we're going to have Rick Polizzi from Boney Island is going to be on it. Matt Ford from the House at Haunted Hill is going to be on it with us. Derek Young from Van Oak Cemetery is going to join us. And also Diane Meyer is going to join us from Rotten Apple, 907. And there's going to be more friends are going to be there. And we're just going to spend the hour just really lifting Gary up and talking about what he meant to this community.
Honestly, there is no other place that you should be doing this to honor somebody's memory who's left such an indelible mark on this community than Midsummer Scream, where it's filled with the people who look up to somebody like this. So there's no other better place to be doing this. And it'll be an incredible moment for everybody involved to remember their friend, to remember their mentor, to remember the person who inspired them, because there's probably countless people that Gary inspired to continue on down this path. So, honestly, I think this is a really great way to honor the memory of this incredible human being and this pillar of the haunt community.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough.
Oh, really? It's always really rough when this stuff happens.
It's gonna be really rough, but it's the least we could do. I found out this morning at about 4 a.m, and I immediately sent out email to our team and said we need to
do something,
make some focus here. Yeah, and so that's kind of right away. Matt Ford, I was talking to Matt this morning, and he said, "Oh, there's got to be a panel. There's got to be something, to do." And the minute I started asking people, everybody was like, me, of course, we want to participate. So that is one presentation that's going to be very near and dear to our hearts, but something that none of us ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
And our love to Gary's family and close friends, and to Gary's husband, Gary. It was the pair of Gary's.
Gary squared.
So our love goes out to everybody. And this is a really, really hard time, and the entire community is reeling from this. People are still finding out tonight, and it's really hard.
And the thing is that we're gonna find comfort together in celebrating somebody's life.
Yeah,
it's not. This isn't about mourning the death of somebody. It's not any of that. It is about celebration of somebody's legacy.
Yeah.
And being happy about what they were able to provide and what they were able to accomplish and what they were able to do with the life while they had it here with us.
Yeah.
And we are sad that somebody has left us, and that's what always is the hardest. And that's what I texted you earlier today. I said, it's always hardest because we're the ones who are left behind.
Oh yeah.
That's the hardest thing about it.
Sure.
So, but there's no other better way than celebrating somebody's life like that, and that's incredible, and I can't wait to experience something like that, because the air is going to be heavy and electric all at the same time.
Yeah.
So
there's something therapeutic about remembering and being with friends, and the haunt community is a very close community. It's more like family.
Sure.
Everyone just has such respect for each other and really treats each other like family. It's a beautiful thing. So everyone will be there for each other.
I think it's going to be really beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really great.
yeah.
So let's move on from this for a moment. There is something that while we're talking about legacy and legend, something that we've been sitting on that we're going to release right now with you guys, because this is very close. We're going to release this in a matter of days. There are a lot of Not Scary Farm fans,
as you can tell by looking around this room at the moment,
that are going to be in attendance. And so, as you know, this is year 45 for Not Scary Farm.
It's a big year.
That's a big deal. That's a really big deal because, like Gary Corb was the pioneer for home haunts here in Southern California, Not Scary Farm is the birthplace of the theme park haunt event. And that has now gone global and really turned into, Halloween is a $10 billion business now.
Trace roots all the way back to Knott's anywhere.
You bet. And so we're going to go big this year with Knott's. So Knott's is going to have its regular presentation on Saturday. And then what we're going to do on Sunday are you ready?
What?
Are you hanging on here?
Two Knott's panels.
What?
Are we really going to double dip?
By the way, just I want to say that we withheld. Usually when we talk to our guests before we talk about what we're going to talk about, I told Rick not to mention any of this stuff because I wanted my reaction to be fresh. So I know none of this news, and I know at the same time everyone else listening to this, so... Go for it. Well, not at the same time,
it's really fun. So we knew that up and beyond the regular presentation that Knott's will do, which is going to be great because everybody wants to hear what the new stuff is that's coming, right? There is an undeniable huge chunk of history there that Knott's in their hour, they're not going to be able to cover when they're talking about all the new things that are coming to Scary Farm this year, right? So we decided very early on that you only get your 45th, Scary Farm once. So on Sunday, to close Midsummer Scream at 4:30 on the big stage, and the big stage, by the way, is in the Terrace Theater this year. It's a theater that holds up to 3,000 guests.
Oh my goodness,
good.
that is
The main
a
stage-
lot of people.
Yeah, the main stage last year was upstairs in the ballroom, and it held 1,000 people.
Oh goodness.
So we've gone a little bit larger this year for the main stage, and it's an honest to God huge theater that's attached to the convention complex there. We are going to close Midsummer Scream this year with a 90-minute presentation of Scary Farm 45. It's going to be hosted by Ted Doherty, who is the person
Scary
to
Farm
talk
guy.
to. Yeah, I mean, he is
He wrote
the
the book.
historian. He literally wrote the book, right, on the history of Haunt and of Knott Scary Farm. And we have put together what is going to, and we're still putting together, the pieces are still falling into place here, what's going to be the most complicated to execute panel presentation we've ever done. Because when you're talking about an event that spans 45 years, there's a whole lot of history and there's a whole lot of people involved in that kind of thing. So the way that we are working at, it's going to be kind of like a Scary Farm fans, just ultimate fantasy square dance do-si-do. We're going to have close to 20 people rotate in and out of the panel over 90 minutes.
People?
Yeah, I think it's like, I don't know, 16, 19. I don't know. It's a lot of people, because what Ted's going to do is we're going to go to the beginning. We're going to go to the very, very beginning, and we're going to talk about how the event was created, how it came about, and how it came up through the ages. And what better way to do that than actually have people there that created Knott Scary Farm.
Holy crap.
So,
oh my God.
It's pretty exciting. So we're going to have John Waite is going to be one of our guests.
Oh my God.
And Scary Farm fans know and love John. He's been around forever. He worked with Bud Hurlbutt on the Two Mountains, and he was part of the original team. And Bud said, hey, why don't we spook up some of these rides? John Waite said, yeah, let's do that. And he rolled up his sleeves and did it. And so I have a list here in front of me, but I'm going to kind of like hop, skip, and jump through it. So we have Diana Kirchen Kelly, and she was the original Green Witch character in Ghost Town, and she started in 1973. We also then have Brian McGee, and he was one of the first members of the original Haunt crew. And so he created attractions like Not Scary Tales, Metro Madness, Best Little Horror House, gotta love that, right? And more. So that's going to be great. Now, we also have Del Langdale, and he was the former head of Knott's Berry Farm park decoration in the 70s and in the 80s. And so many of the looks and designs synonymous with Knott's Scary Farm, the midways, are concepts that Del introduced. Todd Stubler is going to join us, and
That's
for
awesome.
those fans that are Slider fans out there know that he was like the Slider. He was Slider number one, right? So he is responsible for fine-tuning and innovating this scare tactic that's now known around the world as sliding. So Todd's going to join us. Then we have Larry McCauley, and he was the first individual to be hired as an official maze designer at Knott's. And he's responsible for a ton of mazes, including Revenge of the Dead and Uncle Ernie's Madhouse, which I think Uncle Ernie's Madhouse was the very first clown maze ever at Scary Farm. Then we got to bring it up to more kind of modernish times, and we're going to have our good friend Todd Fox. Todd's going to be there, and Todd worked in entertainment design at Knott's. He was the manager of entertainment design for 18 years, and Todd did a ton of haunt stuff.
A lot of stuff.
A ton of stuff, including Quarantine, 13X Murder Manor, and he also did special 25th anniversary maze, and now we're at 45.
45,
so there you go,
25.
right? And then we bring it up, of course, to the individual that's really taking mazes to the next level. We're going to have John Cook is going to be there, and he's going to talk about things like Shadowlands and Infected, and just what's maybe coming next.
Yeah.
And what he thinks is the future for Scary Farm. And you know what? There's a huge component of Scary Farm that is entertainment, based, right? So Ken Parks, who is the vice president of entertainment, he's going to join us because for years and years and years, he wrote and directed The Hanging as well as other shows there. So he's invaluable, and he's really excited to be on this. And then Ed Alonso is going to join us.
Ed Alonso!
Yes.
That's awesome.
Ed Alonso's going to come and talk about his crazy magic mayhem that he's done over the years at Knott's. And then when this whole thing is said and done, we're going to have a meet and greet reception out in the lobby of the theater, so fans don't just like have to worry about getting their favorite guy up there on stage for 5 minutes. You know, they're going to be out there mixing and mingling with everybody, so the fans can take pictures with them, ask them questions. And we figured there would be no better way to end Midsummer Scream this year than with the Scary Farm 45 presentation.
That's a huge thing to end on. Are you kidding me? That's like the exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point to the weekend.
It's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. I already know that I'm going to be bringing my Ed Alonso banner because I have this huge banner that they actually used at Scary Farm for his show. I'm going to just bring them, hold it up in the audience so you can see it.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
So that's what we're working on.
Well, definitely Scary Farm fans like us, and definitely me, the person who's getting a Scary Farm tattoo, is going insane.
Right on.
So I'm so excited.
That's going to be a good one. That's going to be a real fun one.
That's definitely going to be really fun. And thank you for dropping that news.
Well, there you
bombshell.
go.
Goodness
right
gracious.
in your lap. Nice.
And then also, we've heard that you made a little trip across the country.
We did.
To Orlando.
We did. We were fortunate enough to be guests at Universal Orlando's grand opening of Volcano Bay this last week. It opened officially on May 25th, and we flew out on the 22nd, and we spent a week with our pals in Orlando, and we did it up. It was the first time I've been to a water park since I was probably 11. I'm 47 now, so you do the math. And it was, in the 22, 23 years that I've done TPA, unless I'm missing something, and it would be, I couldn't believe I missed it, but unless I'm missing something, we've only done 2 park openings because parks don't open very often. That's a big deal to be there when a park opens, right? Attractions, sure. Night and day because it's Southern California all the time and around the U.S. all the time. New parks, that's something special. So we were at the opening of California Adventure when that opened, and now we were at the opening of Volcano Bay.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes along really well with our topic today of the future of theme parks, because right when Volcano Bay was being announced, the big thing there was the Tapu Tapu, virtual waiting system that they have implemented into their park. Everyone was curious how that was going to work and if it worked, and just that was kind of like a big step forward in the sense of not having to wait in lines. How was your experience visiting Volcano Bay? We could just talk about the overall first shock and awe of going in there.
So our experience with Volcano Bay really started when we, in 2015 when they announced this, right? And they started sending out renderings and press releases and all this stuff. And then last year when we went to IAAPA in November, we got our first look at Krakatoa, which is the volcano. It's a 200-foot tall volcano. It was pretty crazy because as we approached Universal Orlando on I-4, you see that Krakatoa sits on top of I-4. It is so close to the freaking freeway.
Is it really?
Oh, dude, it's what in the hell? It's crazy pants. It's right there. And so that we were just shocked and awed by how close it was, and just looms over the freeway. That was our first real physical introduction to Volcano Bay. So we were invited to participate in the media events. So when we landed on the 22nd, we landed about 10 minutes before a really, really intense storm came through.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't see Krakatoa until we were right on top of it, and there was lightning, strobe lights, and thunder that sounded like cannon fire flashing all around this volcano. And I'm this is great to open a water park in this. This is perfect water park weather. I can't believe we've come to do this. But it was really, really great to see something that, it's always cool to see something in a rendering in a press release when you first get it, and then to physically see it with your own eyeballs actually come to fruition. That's always a really cool feeling. And something as awe-striking as, the Matterhorn here is like 163 feet, I think it is.
Yeah.
Krakatoa is 200 feet. And it's big. It's girthy. It's a freaking volcano, right? So when you do see it, it's pretty awe-inspiring. It's pretty damn cool that they actually built a volcano in the middle of Orlando.
And what's cool is that one of them, is it one or two of the main attractions are actually in the volcano? Like you actually go up the volcano to get to it.
There are like four attractions.
There's 4?
So there's the Krakatoa Aqua Coaster.
Yeah.
That goes in and out of the mountain. Then there are the 3 slides. There are the 2 serpentine body slides, and I'm not going to pronounce the names because I can't. And then there's the one that is 125-foot drop at a 70-degree angle straight down through the heart of Krakatoa.
It's like a trap door one.
They're all trapped. So
they're all trap door.
All the slides that are in Krakatoa are trapdoor.
I've never done it.
Johanna did one.
You didn't do it?
Oh, hell no.
Why not?
No, because I named them Nope 1, Nope 2, Nope 3. I said, nope. First of all, I'm not walking 125 feet upstairs. Okay, that's a long-ass walk up the stairs. But Johanna did it. She did it, and it was terrifying. And she said it was terrifying and amazing, and she's good. She doesn't have to do it again.
Yeah. I've never done a trapdoor water slide. I don't know.
You would do that in a heartbeat, though. I feel like you when you're there, you'd grow some balls and you'd do it immediately.
I don't know.
Don't grow balls, by the way.
I won't. I get freaked out at the normal water slides. I don't know how I'd handle a trapdoor water slide. Honestly.
You tend to rise to the occasion, definitely, though. So I think you would be fine once you got there.
We'll see.
You're the type of person that just pushes yourself to do it anyway.
Well, yeah, I'd be too embarrassed to freak out and chicken out and then have to walk down the stairs. So I'd probably do it.
Oh, the walk of shame, right?
Yeah, no walk of shame. No.
So if you manage to get me all the way up the stairs, I'd probably do it.
Okay.
Johanna
well, you heard it here first.
She said being on the platform up top is pretty crazy because at that point you're like at the 125-foot level and you have the water that's flowing down the waterfalls over the face of the volcano. The wind's blowing, the water's blowing, blasting in. She says it was like being at the top of Mount Everest, that it was just like freaking crazy and you can see forever across, because the floor is flat, and you could see like forever, and there's water blowing everywhere, and there's people launching in these tubes, and if that's not unnerving enough, when you get in this tube and the door closes on you, drums start pounding, and the drums get louder and louder and louder, and then the bottom drops out.
And then you get a wedding.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, right?
That's terrifying.
I just messed your chair right now
Yeah,
talking about
bit,
it.
just
So,
a little bit.
Yeah. So,
but man, what an experience, though.
She did it. She says that people were saying it was kind of like the birthing process, like being born. and I can tell you, because I shot video of her coming out of that thing. She looked like she was being born. It was, she had no idea where the hell she was or what had just happened.
Bright lights.
Oh yeah,
like
you have no idea. I'm going to show you the video when we're done. It's pretty amazing.
I can't wait.
She looked exhilarated and horrified at the same time, and yeah, it was pretty crazy. But everything there is really beautiful. Universal Creative did a really great job in pulling this off. It's a large park. I wrote about it on TPA. And
great article, by the way.
Thank you. And doing the research, a lot of people that read TPA are Southern Californians because that's where we are.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have the means or are not lucky enough to go to Florida very often, right? There's fans here that have never been to Orlando that want to go. So they have reference points here. So the park's big. It's 53 acres. That is roughly 4 times the size of Soak City at Knott's and about
huge.
4 times the size of Hurricane Harbor at Magic Mountain. So it's a big park.
Yeah.
And it's comparable in size to the two. If you guys are familiar with Orlando, it's comparable to the 2 Disney water parks, Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach. Blizzard Beach, I think, is 66 acres, and Typhoon is 56. 56 acres, yeah, and Blizzard Beach is 66. So Volcano Bay is right up there with them.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
And how did it live up to the expectation of being, I guess you could say, like the world's first water theme park, because that's what they're referring it to. They're not referring to it as a water park.
Yeah.
It's a water theme park. How did that live up to your expectations?
You know, that's a hot topic, right? People are talking about, the fans are talking about that, and it's funny because, I mean, it's kind of like party lines, right? Universal fans are all about it, and Disney fans are like, it's not a theme park, it's a water park. You know, it's if you go into a park, and I wrote about this, of course, again on TPA. If you go into a park and it's got a theme that carries the thread throughout the experience, and the attractions carry that theme throughout the experience, your food and your drink, they're all geared and themed to that experience. Your merchandise, your team members, the area music,
your wrist things, like your whole wait time system.
Everything is into this theme, which is it's a kind of a Polynesian, New Zealand type vibe going on there. You know, it's a theme park.
Yeah.
You know, there's no definition written anywhere that says, well, a theme park must have iron rides. It must have. No, it's a theme park's a theme park. I think that if Disney had decades ago, when they opened Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach, said these are theme parks or water theme parks, we wouldn't even be having this discussion today, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, Disney, sure, they may have coined the whole theme park phrase and the jargon that goes with it, but they don't own the market on it. They don't get to say what definitively is or is not a theme park. So Universal said, well, no, this is a water theme park. And you know what? I have no problem with that. What they have created there is beautiful, and it is cohesive. The entire experience is cohesive. And no, I have no problem at all saying that it's a water theme park.
I guess in that sense, they're kind of breaking the mold, because once you say theme park, I think everybody, like you said, kind of has like this idea in their own head of what exactly creates a theme park. Mm-hmm. And by breaking that mold, I think it kind of leaves a lot for others to kind of go in its path.
Yeah,
which is kind of nice, because you like we've all said so many times, it's a wonderful time to be a theme park fan.
Sure,
there's so many new and incredible things that are coming out right now, and I think with this having happened, there's only, I'm sure, countless things that are going to follow behind this and kind of go on the same path. And personally, I'm excited to have a theme park that has like this really nice cohesive story that happens to be a water park at the same time, because, you know, like, as much as I like Soak City, it's kind of bland, you know?
Well, it's you know, it's not Soak City and water parks like it.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. Raging Waters is the premier one, right, here in Southern California, right? So they don't pretend to be theme parks. They're water parks. Like, you go to King's Dominion or King's Island or any of these other, they're amusement parks. Cedar Point, it's an amusement park. It doesn't pretend to be a theme park, and they're great at what they are. You know, there's nothing wrong with being a water park, right? No one's gonna. It doesn't diminish Raging Waters to not say, well, we're not a theme park. Oh, we're just a water park. No, you're a water park and you kick ass. That's great. That's what people want. So I think that we will continue to see regular water parks come online, and I think that you will see companies kind of step it up, because they say, okay, well, Universal kind of plays that trail, and we can maybe call ours a theme park too.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a great experience, and you have fun.
Yep.
So, like, really, who cares what it's called, really?
The fans win no matter what.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Most importantly, and probably the most important question, how are the drinks?
The drinks were free.
Oh, the drinks were real good.
So you asked what our experience was. Our experience was something that nobody else will ever have. We got to experience Volcano Bay in its entirety, just as the media, on the 24th before it opened to the public, and I think I would be embellishing if I said there were more than 300 people in the park.
Oh, wow.
So
dude, there was
really
nobody. There was nobody.
Really nobody.
And all the drinks, you just walk up to the bars and the drinks are all free. The food was all free. So that'll never happen again.
Yeah.
But it was funny. I went up to the bartender and I ordered one. They're all tropical drinks. They do have full bar, but it's Polynesian tropical tiki type drinks, right? So we were trying to order as many of the drinks and test them and see how they were. And And the bartender looked at me. He said, "Would you like the 20 ounce or the 40 ounce?" And I looked at him like, "Brother, please. If it's free, don't be asking me what size I want. Just fill up the bucket, all right?" And the drinks were really good. Their drinks were really, really good. The bartenders were great. They were fast. And the drinks worked. I can't condone, but I can't deny that we maybe had drinks and then did water slides and things, and that's an experience. But no, it was really interesting. And also on the flip side of that thing, because I know we're going to talk about Tapu Tapu, we didn't get to experience any of that really, because the whole point of Tapu Tapu is going up, you tap into the ride, and that enters you into the virtual queue, and it tells you when to come back. There was none of that. In fact, we rode the aqua coaster 4 times without even getting out of the aqua coaster. And that'll never happen again.
Yep.
So we were very fortunate in that. But the downside was we did not get to experience firsthand, Tapu Tapu.
Kind of rolling into the topic of the episode, you were talking about the day that you went. And let's compare that to the day that they opened to the public. Yeah. Because this is really the test. And the future of theme parks, a lot of people are talking about virtual lines. Mm-hmm. People are talking about not having to wait in lines. Is this something that we could definitely see coming into a theme park that we know that isn't born with it?
Well, they tested it with Jimmy Fallon, right?
Well, Jimmy Fallon was kind of like it was a virtual queue, but they had like holding rooms that you kind of go through as opposed to a normal line. This one is literally you tap, you walk away for 4 hours, and then you come back.
It's tricky, it's tricky, and they've been open just a handful of days.
Yeah, this is all brand new stuff.
It's all brand new to everybody, and so it's one of those things that I think looks really sexy on paper, and it's really cool to pitch it and say this is going to be, you don't have to wait at all. You're going to tap in. You're going to go hang out around the lazy river. You're going to do, and then you're going to come back and you're going to have no lines. The reality is, if you've got a park that has thousands of people in it and you've got 18 attractions, there's going to be a line somewhere, right? Because water park attractions, water slides, those are some of the lowest capacity type attractions there are, right?
Just to avoid accidents.
Yeah, so what we're finding is people, unfortunately, there are long wait times, and that's a whole other topic, and I'm glad it's not my problem to solve. But you have people that are waiting, 3, 4 more hours to go on a slide, and when they come back, they've got another 45-minute wait or something to get on the slide because everybody's come back, and so there are things that need to be worked out. It is not a perfect system. I don't know. And God knows I've had, you guys had Kevin Caldfeld on, and Kevin certainly is very intelligent. He's a very gifted designer that I work with at Rethink, and he and I have had this discussion. He is adamant that he thinks that the virtual queues can work. I'm not so sure about that. I think that maybe and it's got to be a discussion that Ops is having right now with creative. I would imagine that if things don't change very quickly, that we will see standby lines on some of the more popular attractions at Volcano Bay while they figure this stuff out. The problem with that is these slides were not set up with queues. They were not designed. Some of the stairways aren't big enough to have 2 separate lines going up. So then that opens a whole other discussion of, well, what the hell do we do with all the people? And so
they put all their eggs in one basket.
Kind of.
They didn't think, oh, well, if the virtual queue doesn't work, then we can do this. They didn't.
and then there's also the issue that you brought up when Fallon really came up was just people's mentality in general.
People linger. They're like, oh, well, if I scan my wristband for a 4-hour wait, so did 20, 30, 40, 50 other people. I want to be at the front of my time
and
group.
Fallon does have a standby line now. So
I called it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did a really good job in calling that.
Yeah, it does. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I think personally that if and I'm choosing my words very carefully here because I don't want to come across negative. If you can't find a solution to these wait times, because the problem is if you tap into 2 things, you get the aqua coaster and then something else, and then suddenly you can't do anything else for 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
That's problematic for a lot of people. Some people, peace out, I'm going to go lay down, I'm going to have a drink, and that's great. But when people pay to come into your park and they're on vacation, they're in theme park mode. So they've got to do stuff.
Yep.
And there's only so many times you can ride around the lazy river. There's so many minutes you can wait in the wave pool, before you start going, okay, I want to do stuff. So I'm sure that Universal's not dumb. They're I'm sure trying to figure out a workaround on this stuff. And like I said, as a fellow designer, I'm rooting for them, and I'm very curious to see what the outcome is of this. I think personally that if they can't figure out something quickly, that we will see Tapu Tapu kind of become more of, this is what you set off the interactives throughout the park with, this is what you pay for things with, this is how you get into your lockers type of thing, and this is how you can reserve virtual lines, which are really then become like fast passes, right?
Yeah.
Or you can stand in standby lines, and you can do both, right?
Yeah.
I think that's probably, if they can't alleviate some of these big wait times, I think that's maybe what Tapu Tapu's role then becomes.
So more like a magic band.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And that wouldn't be the worst thing.
No, I don't think so.
Not at all. I think the major concern for me when talking about the overall scope of a lineless ride or a queueless attraction is the amount of guests that just propels back into the park, because a lot of people are eaten up by these attractions, and attractions are built solely based on the idea of eating people.
Yep.
And keeping people in line, keeping people going through to make the rest of the park not crowded. Yes. And by shoving everybody else back into the park, it makes it a much more crowded experience.
You're correct.
So imagine Disney on capacity, which I'm sure all three of us have been to.
Yeah.
Times about 10, because all the people in the lines are going to be out of the lines.
Yep.
And that sounds horrendous and terrible to the point where I would never want to go.
Yeah.
And that's my concern about going forward. And like you said, unless they figure something out, I don't think this is really something that they're going to go for, because like we already said, the line for Jimmy Fallon is there now.
Yeah, I'm kind of the mind of, if it ain't broke,
why fix it?
Don't fix it, right? I mean, Disney does this thing now where you can't sit and wait for things anymore. It's like, people have done this for 50 plus years.
No one's
at
going to
Disneyland,
change
right?
their attitude about it.
It's in our culture's DNA to sit and wait for things now, and to say, oh no, you can't sit here. You go get a fast pass to watch this parade. What are you talking about? People just line up. So, and of course, as storytellers, we use the queue to set the entire attraction up. And so if you then take away that queue, I mean, imagine going into, Indiana Jones and getting right on the Jeep without any of the buildup, without any of the explanation of what the Temple of the Forbidden Eye is. You lose a really important part of your storytelling process.
Yeah.
So for many reasons, I'm not personally a fan of the virtual queue idea.
I mean,
I can see where it's coming from. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. I think that queues have been around for over 100 years in parks. I don't see them going away. I really don't.
It really just seems like a real big kind of balance or fight between the business side and the creative side. Business side says, if we don't have any people waiting in line, they're buying more stuff, they're eating, they're drinking. But creative wants to keep those people to give them the experience that they want. That's what it kind of feels like at this point.
I think there are a lot of struggles like that, going on behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, you've got to take care of your guests, right? I can't imagine going into a Disneyland or an Islands of Adventure and have all the people that are sucked up by the lines, like you said, kicked out into the midways and the walkways.
Yep.
That's not fun. And the infrastructures are not there for that. I can tell you that there are two dedicated bars at Volcano Bay. They're not that big. And so they're at capacity very quickly. So you can imagine if a park like Disneyland, which can hold, upwards of 80,000 people, those restaurants, all that stuff, it's just not designed for that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You build a park knowing that you're going to have thousands of people at any given time in queues. That's what you rely on. That's your theoretical, that's your capacity right there, right? Mm-hmm. And weird to think that, just as a designer, that's against every grain of design, that I know, or anything that I've grown up with. You just know that when you go to a park, you're going to wait in line. And that's it, right?
And as a designer, like you had said, it's just wanting to give the guest the best experience that they can possible, especially with how much money they're going to be paying for their family to go to these attractions and experiences. They want to be enveloped in these worlds, and that's really where it seems like the theme park world is going, to kind of move past Tapu Tapu in the waiting system. That seems like what the future of theme parks is really this enveloped world that you're going into. You're stepping into a world as opposed to temporarily going on a ride where it feels like you're in the world. It's you are in the world. These are characters. These are people that you're interacting with every day. They, for all intents and purposes, they live there. like Hogsmeade. And that seems like where we're going with Star Wars Land. So I mean, that's kind of like what it seems like.
Or like Ghost Town
Alive.
Or way back when, in the 40s and 50s at Knott's, when they had citizens walking around. Or New Orleans Square at Disneyland when it opened,
True.
So and God, I mean, we could go on and on and on with that conversation. The idea is when you see things like Pandora or Diagon or Star Wars coming online, I don't think that that's anything new, because Walter Knott did it a long time before Disney did it. And then Walt did it with his areas, and other parks have done it very well, in their themed areas. I think the difference between something like New Orleans Square at Disneyland versus Diagon Alley is that Diagon Alley is the Blu-ray, whereas New Orleans Square is your cassette
VHS.
Or cassette tape, right? Type of thing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's the same idea. It's just become
refined.
So rather than immersive, I like to say it's become HD, right? The detailing is much finer, and you can see all the fine little detail versus, just standard, right?
Yeah.
It's funny because I never actually thought about it that way until you actually said it.
Yeah.
Knott's did do it. Disney did do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's nothing new.
I think everyone across the board is trying to step it up, though.
Sure. Of course.
And then I think the general public probably doesn't see it in that manner. A lot of theme park people, nerds like us, see that kind of happening. But when they look at like Disneyland, they don't see it as kind of getting enveloped in the world. When they look at Knott's Berry Farm, they don't really see it as getting enveloped in the world. I feel like only when it's become recognizable, with an IP, is when people start to recognize.
Sure, they recognize it, right? You recognize when you walk into Hogsmeade, oh, I've seen all these movies. I know this place. I'm attached to this place. Star Wars, even though it's going to be a planet that none of us have ever seen before, it's still part of a universe that we've all grown up with, and
it's familiar.
Yes. So I mean, I get it. I totally get it. And there is something to be said about, and it's the battle between IP to IP or not to IP, right? Every park wants their IP stuff because it's already built in. People already have a connection.
Half the story building is already done for them.
You bet. All the heavy lifting's already done. So when Star Wars opens at the Disney parks, people already know what it is. You don't have to educate people as to what it is.
Yeah.
So no, I mean I get that, and so rather than say immersive, because everything is, we're going to put you in this immersive world. Well, that's like bacon to me. You've heard me say this, right? Bacon's been around forever, dude. The Disney attractions, Pirates of the Caribbean. When you ride through that, you're pretty immersed in that. It's nothing new. Walt and his boys knew pretty much what they were doing. Even attractions back in Coney Island in the 1800s. You walked around on Mars or whatever. I mean, you were immersed in this environment too. So immersion is nothing new. That's the hot word though, and God knows I have to use it when I write my treatments and things like that because that's what clients want to read. Everybody has to have that I word in there. But it really, to me, it's just about perfecting what's already been done and bringing everything into the modern day HD version of everything.
And that's actually a really good point. I mean, like I said, I didn't even think about it in that way. But, Knott's is even pushing it even more forward with Ghost Town Alive and really trying to propel that. And that's such a fun event.
Yeah, really wonderful. That's Ken Parks. Ken Parks is, again, writing all that stuff. And, God, you got to hand it to the actors, the men and women out there that just do that stuff all day long and interacting with the guests and sending guests on little missions and all that. God, that's so much fun, right?
To be a kid again, really.
That's great.
I mean, I feel like a kid again when going to these things. You get terrified.
They're not my cup of tea.
Why? Why is that? Do you get like
stage fright?
Sure. Yeah. So you get like weirded out, like it's like at a haunt event when a monster comes up at you and starts like interacting with you, and you're like, I suddenly have nothing intelligent to say back to this guy. Yeah,
but I can deal with haunt better than like
just regular words.
Oh, that mirror's talking to me, and I'm expected to have a response. I don't have a response. I don't want to go on a mission. It's like it's just
I totally
not for
get that.
me.
Yeah.
But I enjoy watching Gabe.
Sure.
As long as they leave me alone.
I think it's great. I'm as a gamer, I think it's great. It's like stepping into something like the World of Warcraft or The Witcher or something where you have all these open world quests to do, right? To bump into these characters in Ghost Town and have them send you over to the assay office or to the bank and do this. I think that's so freaking awesome. By the way, Hopwing Lee is gone again.
Again?
Fisher, dude, it begins.
Hashtag dirty laundry?
Yes. Hashtag dirty laundry. What has happened to Hopwing Lee? We're going to find out this year, I think.
I don't think we are.
We're going to dig. No, we're going to put some serious pressure on Nuts because I want to know.
I don't think they'll end up putting Hopwing Lee character out there on the streets.
I think that TPA and Theme Park Duo, I think that our listeners and readers need to unite and demand to know what's happened to Hopwing Lee. Hashtag dirty laundry.
I remember going and I remember bugging all the characters saying, like, where did he go? They all had a scripted answer on where he went. And I'm like, okay, that's smart. That's real smart.
I've already promised that I'm going to be much harder this year on them. I'm going to say, oh no, you said that last year and he never came back. Oh no, it's going to get real interesting.
And even moving forward, like the future of theme parks, a lot, and we've had this discussion plenty of times on the show, is screens. And it seems like that's where the industry was headed. But it seems like we're kind of taking a few steps back here now.
Yeah. Because
there was a little bit of a backlash in a way from fans, particularly Universal fans, because that's kind of the road that they headed down themselves. So I don't know where technology is headed in that
media
sense.
Versus practical, right?
Yeah, the media versus practical argument, because that's always going to be there.
In the theme park world, we are seeing now play out in the theme park realm what us Star Wars fans felt with the new trilogy,
the additions and the edits,
or even just the new trilogy where everything was green screen, right? And you look at it now and it looks 2-dimensional. It looks everything is fake. Versus now the new Star Wars saga or things like Rogue One and the upcoming Han Solo film, I'm sure will be this stuff's practical, and it really matters because it really, really looks real and it's tangible, right? The same thing has happened in theme parks. You have attractions that we've all grown up with: Pirates Mansion, Indiana Jones, for you Florida kids, Journey into Imagination, Universe of Energy, and then suddenly media is available and people being clients think, oh, well, it's much cheaper to do a projected thing than pay for, $1 million animatronic to be standing there that's going to have to constantly be worked on and fixed and that type of thing. The reality is those projectors and that media, dude, that is an ongoing commitment, and that is really expensive to keep that stuff tuned, maintained, to replace bulbs and all that stuff. Same thing with wooden roller coasters versus steel. So many times we have clients that say, oh, no, we want a wooden coaster because they're cheaper. It's maintenance every day walking that track. And if they don't maintain it, we all know what that feels like on wooden coasters. And then they end up retracting or tearing them down and replacing them with something metal. Anyway, but so we have seen that in the theme park realm where people have started pushing back on having so much media. you know. Universal here, that's our home park. We love Universal Studios Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
But, dude, you might as well just be given a pair of 3D glasses with your ticket when you come into the park, because everything is media and everything is 3D. That said, Universal Creative is aware of that. They're aware of that. And
I took a survey.
Yeah.
One of the questions.
There was like a good amount of questions that were about that.
Yeah. Yeah. They're aware. I mean, they're very aware. And I think, you know, the new things that are coming online, like Kong in Florida, that is a really decent blend of practical versus media. I think that, and I'm sure a lot of people will agree, I think the absolute best marriage of the two is Spider-Man. Never been on it, can't say anything. My God. I can't. You're going to do it soon, yes?
Oh, yeah, we'll be visiting in October.
Well,
I feel like we mention it every episode.
Dude, no, that's really good. And I'm really excited because I'm going to be waiting for your text when you get off of it. Spider-Man is the best example of the perfect marriage between practical and media. It's seamless. The team that put that together just knocked it out of the ballpark, and it is just maintained, and it holds its own, and it really still leads the pack when it comes to that. So I've been on many attraction design projects now for the different companies that I've worked for, and that's the bar. Whenever we're talking about doing a media-based attraction, it's got to be like Spider-Man now. And so designers are very cognizant of the pushback on all media. And I can tell you, from a design point of view, much more fun designing a practical attraction than something where you're just surrounded by media screens and projectors. So I think that the future of theme parks, as far as that goes, I think that there will be a happy balance. You know, you obviously cannot have something that is as large and as fluid as a transformer. If you build an animatronic that is 15 feet tall and moves so quickly, that'll work for like 3 revolutions, and then it's going to start breaking, right? It's not going to run 12, 16 hours a day, every day. It's just not going to happen. So yes, there are certain things where it makes sense, like in Transformers, to have them as media. They wouldn't work, in my opinion, they wouldn't work as an AA figure because they would never maintain that way. They wouldn't.
Yeah.
Same with like the T-Rex. Stan Winston created the T-Rex for Jurassic Park. Mm-hmm. It looks amazing on film, but even between shots, that thing had problems. It would get wet. It was the skin got too heavy. It started having the shakes. So you can imagine in a theme park attraction. Mm-mm. So there are instances where I think that the answer is media, but I think the goal is to have a very healthy mix of media and practical.
And it seems like you said, that's kind of where we're headed, especially with newer things that have come along, kind of like Pandora, where we're seeing the Navi River journey.
Yes,
where we have
that's a great example.
Digital backgrounds that kind of give depth to what we're looking at.
Yes.
But also have an incredibly fluid AA figure that's so lifelike. So there is that nice balance of, but it's the digital projection is used for a specific reason. It isn't the entire attraction.
Right.
I guess that's kind of like what it is.
I think we can expect that in Star Wars even more so.
Yeah.
We know for a fact, because we've all seen the AT-AT walkers, right?
Yes.
So those are certainly practical.
They are in the building.
But I would imagine that there's going to be some media effects augmented with that, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that yes, I think Pandora is an excellent example of that, especially the river ride. I think that we're really going to see where Disney's going with that once Star Wars comes online and we do that attraction. Yeah.
So talking about Star Wars. Yeah. The ride system for the Millennium Falcon ride, I'm a bit confused because I know that ride is supposed to be you piloting the Millennium Falcon. That is what they're billing this as.
That's what the line is, yeah.
How would they be able to design a ride or an attraction around unpredictability?
It's like a Mission Space type of thing.
Yeah, but even Mission Space is
if you pooch it, it still does what it's going to do.
Well, yeah, but so it's like Mission Space meets Star Tours.
But it still does it. So my whole point is, they're billing it as an attraction where you pilot it, and there are outcomes that are changed dependent upon how well you do in piloting the ship.
Is it air quotes like you pilot it, but
I
don't know.
Clue.
I, to be honest with you, I don't know.
That would be my bet.
And this is technology that's either brand new or something that we've seen before. And I'm really curious about how far that goes.
Sure, it's going to be very. I mean, that's the ultimate interactivity, right?
Yeah, actually piloting the Millennium Falcon.
I mean, if that's the case, and if somebody on your team can blow it, oh, there's going to be a lot of whirlies in the bathroom in the outer rim.
But then that's also
I can't believe
the outer rim. The outer rim.
Yeah, I can't believe you blew it for us, dude. Or that's the last time we bring Grandma on this ride, right?
But then that's also a thing that they said, going back to like the immersiveness of the your experience in the parks and in the lands. Didn't they say that how you pilot the Millennium Falcon
characters will know.
It carries throughout your experience in the land, so characters will know. You might get a jab in the cantina from an alien, he's the one that wrecked the Millennium Falcon. So that's just another way.
That's pretty intense. Yeah, I don't know. We're all going to find out together, I guess, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, it's all this new technology that's really coming into play here. That's really interesting and really innovative. I would hope. I mean, we don't know.
Who knows? It's going to be really interesting, and I hope it's fun. And at the end of the day, I think the important thing to keep in focus is you can have all the bells and whistles, but just make the ride experience really cool.
Yeah.
Right? Don't lose focus, right? Don't shoehorn a ride into technology. Let technology be the tool that you tell your story with. I think that is imperative that we all keep that in focus as designers.
Exactly. And it's so funny. I was listening to Jeff Tucker's podcast, 91 Reasons, and he was talking about a make-believe theme park that almost came to fruition. It was supposed to be at Islands of Adventure, a Batman theme park. And in the description of one of the rides, they were actually talking to neurosurgeons and scientists about actually altering the wavelengths in people's brains in order to trick them into thinking that the experience and the ride that they're on is actually real.
That sounds like how the world ends. like literally.
That's some Westworld stuff right there.
No, yeah, like Serenity. Like that's how the Reavers are created. They just go insane and they start eating people's faces.
The pirates start eating people's faces off.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, but for the foreseeable future, I know that we could talk as much as we want about the technologies that are here. Do you see anything happening in the next 30, 40 years that you think, where the industry is really headed? What in your mind, and if you can't think of something that, where we're headed, where would you like to see the industry head?
Well,
that was a very convoluted question. I apologize.
No, I get it. And I think the answer is actually probably easier than you might imagine, at least in my opinion. As a whole, technical aspects of things aside, the theme park evolution is very slow. You have stuff like Expedition Everest, you have Grizzly Gulch, that open. Those are scenic railways, and we've seen them before. Big Thunder. Let's go back to the 50s. Matterhorn Mountain. Let's go back to Coney Island in the late 1800s. Those are all called scenic railways. The technology is newer for these things. The idea of those ride systems isn't new. You have the Dumbo systems. Dumbo systems are on a ton of rides out there in all the parks, and that's a fairly old system. Ferris wheels are out there. They're just bigger these days, although back in the day, they had Ferris wheels that held 30 people per cabin. Mm-hmm. So that's not really anything new. It's just the sheer size of them has gotten bigger. There have been flume rides forever, right? There have been dark rides. There have been haunted attractions around for a really, really long time. Most of the ride systems that are implemented today can be traced back to Coney Island or the very early 1900s. So they're not really anything new. It's the way that they are being executed now. That's new. Now, you do get things like Forbidden Journey, right? Or Gringotts, or probably one or two of the Star Wars systems. I mean, you do see new things that do come online.
But they're few and far between.
Yes. So I think that the answer is things will become more technically advanced. But the ideas, you can buy a 2018 car now it's basically the same beast as it was in the 40s. It's got your wheels, it's got your engine. So it's the same thing with theme park evolution, right? I think that we will see more on the forefront of virtual reality in the next few years, which I'm not a fan of in theme parks, just for many reasons, including capacity, just operational nightmare.
I'm personally in agreement. I don't even like them being used on roller coasters.
Yeah. That's a whole other show, right? But I think even more so, though, we will see what excites me as a designer is the idea of augmented reality. So you have like your Pokemon app, right, where you walking down the street and there's a Pokemon there on the corner. I'm going to catch it if I can. And so I can imagine my idea is we're all staring at our phones anyway at the parks, right? You're not going to fight that. That's just the way it is. 10-year-olds run around with their own iPhones now. That's just the way it is. Yeah. So you know what? We embrace that. You don't fight it because you're not going to lose that. You're not going to win that battle. You're going to lose that battle. So you embrace it, and if you're in line for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, suddenly you're using your augmented reality. You're looking through the pass-through on your camera on your phone, and you're in a race with your buddies that are with you to collect as many golden nuggets as you can hidden in the queue area for Big Thunder, right? Or you're looking for, minerals, hidden minerals, or components that are needed to create medicine on Pandora, or something like that. I think that is a very exciting forefront for attractions.
Then you wouldn't need the whole lineless wait time thing, because people would want to wait in line.
That's right. We're right back to that. So I think that those technologies, but I think that there's only a certain bandwidth to that before it's kind of played out. I really do think that the place for VR is either in the workplace or really gaming systems, the PS4 and all the different things that are coming out for the gaming consoles. I think that's a perfect environment for that, right?
Yeah.
When you're in a theme park, you're there to experience it with usually at least one other person, but the whole idea of being on the Jeep in Indiana Jones is you are there with 12 people going in this troop transport, through this temple that's going apeshit at you. And if you're wearing VR headsets, you're by yourself in that experience.
Yeah.
Same as on the roller coaster, Revolution at Magic Mountain. They did a great job rehabbing the Revolution. They don't have those god-awful over-the-shoulder restraints anymore, right? And the trains run beautifully, and it's a beautiful classic coaster. I want to see that. I want to experience the Revolution. Yeah. I don't want to be singled out when, we did that when they introduced the VR on Revolution. And again, this isn't a knock at Six Flags. Six Flags has gone balls out now with all this VR at all their parks and implementing it on things. And we're seeing it also at SeaWorld has done it in Florida with Kraken. Mm-hmm. Kraken's a great roller coaster. And what we found is the minute people put the VR headsets on, they ride the roller coaster just with their mouths hanging open, and they don't scream. They don't interact with one another. They don't laugh. It's really weird. The trains go by, and it's just like everybody is just like brain dead.
Silent.
Yeah, it's really weird, right?
That's odd.
Yeah. So no, when you're at a theme park, you're there to experience it with a group. That's the experience, right? So I do think that the VR will play out probably sooner than later in theme parks. Haunted attractions, kind of the same thing. I mean, there are haunted attractions that are coming online now. Our good friend Larry Bones is doing Into the Black, and he'll have a presentation at Midsummer Scream too. And part of his experience is virtual reality also. He's done an Into the Black VR with Hollow, which is the one that they did the Fear 5150 for Knott's that we never got to see. So
we did it.
There are. It was like what, one night, right?
I think
right. That was it. Right.
I think we did it the media night that we went.
Yeah.
That was they had it for like a couple more days, and that was it.
Yeah. Yep. So that's being used for haunted attractions, but it goes back to, if I'm in a haunted attraction I want to see other people get scared. I want to see Johanna get scared. I want to see our buddies. I want to see the people that brought the kid in. I want to see the kid start crying because they should have brought the kid.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
That's always fun.
It's part of the experience. And if you have the headsets and goggles on,
isolating.
Dude, you're by yourself.
Yeah.
You're really by yourself. I don't care if you can see... If I can see Gabe's avatar, I don't care about that.
My avatar?
Your avatar.
Okay, because I can show you my avatars anytime you want.
Oh, my God. It just spirals out of control right there. But I want to see the real deal. I want to see the person. I want to see the human reaction, right? Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's my roundabout answer is I don't think that the evolution of theme park, I think they will become more HD. I'm not going to say I word. I think they're going to become more HD, and I think they will become more interactive, with facial recognition technologies, or perhaps just, RFID type technologies. But really, if you have a really great thing going with the system, whether it's a roller coaster or, a bus bar and a dark ride, there's not really much you can do to change that.
Yeah.
It just, like I said, it gets more technically advanced, but, a roller coaster is a roller coaster. A scenic railway is a scenic railway. A dark ride is a dark ride. Next 50 years, I think that we will continue to have things like Gringotts come online. I think we'll continue to have things like the Navi River ride come online. The evolution is very slow, I think, for theme parks.
And like you said, it's about interacting with people and seeing people's reactions.
It's all about like that. Emotion.
And something that we talked about with Kevin is the thing with theme parks is about making memories, and usually those memories aren't with the attraction. Those memories are usually the interaction that you have with your family, with your friends, with the other people in the attraction, even crossing borders of language and having interaction with people from another country and being able to relate on that level. All those memories are built that way. And for me, personally, I think where I want that future of the theme park to go is to really push for the interaction of guests with other guests, possibly, or even just something help to facilitate the bonding of people that come to these theme parks, because those memories are made that way.
You bet.
Because that's personally what's important to me. I go to theme park. I don't go to theme parks with Nikki because I want to go on a ride. I go because I want to experience that with her.
You're gonna hang out.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what most people want. They want the memories, and it's not a memory of riding that ride. Most people don't remember a ride in detail. They'll remember who they went on the ride with. Things like that. And like technology, I think, is going to play a big part in the future. But hopefully, it's a like not a crutch. Hopefully, it's something that the park designers use to help the guest experience rather than something they rely on too much
to help facilitate.
Facilitate rather than just leaning on it to make something cheap or easy, so.
Mm-hmm.
You're so busy asking if you could, you didn't ask if you should.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Right. And that's honestly a really good place to end on a nice, sweet little packaged note.
There you go.
At the end of the show. So thank you so much for joining us today. That was a very emotional, exciting,
that was an emotional
very
roller
in-depth
coaster
episode.
There we go.
Oh my goodness, we went everywhere in this one. So thank you so much for joining us again, and make sure let everybody know where to find you. Everyone knows where to find you, but still plug away, my friend.
So we live online at themeparkadventure.com, and social media, Periscope and Twitter, it's TPA Magazine. Instagram is Theme Park Adventure, and Facebook is Theme Park Adventure. You can also find Midsummer Scream at midsummerscream.org, and just on your social media, you plug in Midsummer Scream, and up we come.
And make sure to buy your tickets. It's coming up in July.
Oh, it's coming.
It's so close.
I can almost smell the fog. I can hear the screams. I can almost hear the sliders.
You don't know how excited I get just thinking about that in any time of the year.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be so much fun.
I talk about Halloween probably every single month.
Oh,
every single day I'll mention Halloween. Like, hey, remember that time we were at Hey, remember that time we were at Halloween Horror Nights? So Midsummer Scream is the place to be. If you got those cravings, you need your fix. This is the place to be.
This is it. This is the Comic-Con of Halloween, right?
This is your drug of choice.
That's right. Is Nikki going to pressure you to get a black kitty?
Maybe.
See?
My face will explode.
See?
I don't want to be hopped up on Benadryl all the time.
Last year we had the little black cat adoptions out in the hallway on the concourse there. We have a black cat lounge this year.
You're going to have to drag me out of there.
You go in yourself, and then I'll wait outside.
I'm going to play with all the kittens. There was a dog in one of the cages last year.
You bet.
You know what the dog said to us? He goes, meow.
Mm-hmm. Sure. It was great because by the second day, they were bringing in...
They were gone, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
White cats, old cats, a freaking... turtle. I mean, who knows what they bring in, right? It's like
we're out of cats, we're out of animals. Bring what you got.
And that's great, right? Because everybody got adopted. Yeah. And they're like, oh, all these kitties got to go. Yeah. So it was awesome, and so we're hoping for that again. So our push again this year was yes, we want black cats. We widened that playing field a little bit. I said let's go with black and orange cats, right? Because Halloween and. But you know what? At the end of the day, we just want to get these little fur balls adopted. So I imagine that we're going to have all sorts of kitties and things in there for people to adopt.
Oh, yeah.
As much as my face explodes anytime I'm around cats, I love animals. Yes. I've always loved animals.
You and me both. I'm allergic to cats.
And you have Jawa. I don't know how you do it.
Lots and lots of Roomba running around. We have nothing but hardwood floor. So we run Roomba all the time. Whether we have the air conditioning or just the fan on all the time, pretty much. Windows open, that type of thing. Yeah, and even then, the minute I touch her, if I don't go wash my hands or whatever, I'm completely screwed.
Yeah.
So we just love Jawa, knowing that that's just the way that I gotta handle around her.
It's worth it.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, you got your animal you love. You can't take your animal away just because it makes you sneeze.
That's right. So there you go. There it is. So if you're allergic to animals, you're going to come to Midsummer Scream and adopt a cat.
Yeah.
There you go.
Happen.
If you get a cat, Nikki, you just keep it in the bedroom with you all the time.
Okay. She will. And then you're going to be on the couch, dude. Look what you just did.
The cat's going to be everywhere.
Yeah, of course it will.
I just can't wait to leave a house. I'll get a cat that lives mostly outdoors.
Yes.
That's my cat growing up was mostly outdoors.
Same with my cat. I had a cat growing up.
All right.
Only outdoor cat. Only.
Okay. Well, in the house sometimes.
Okay, sometimes. It's going to end up to me just saying inside all the time.
Yeah, of course.
I can't really say no to that.
That's right.
Anyway, we've devolved into a conversation about cats.
We've spiraled out of control.
We're cat people. This is sad.
Go. Yes.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us again, my friend. It's been wonderful, and we're looking forward to Midsummer Scream.
Can't wait to see you guys there. It's going to be pretty bitchin'. We're pretty excited.
Later, bro.
Thank you, guys.
So I think that was a really good episode. I really think we delved into the topic of what we think the future of theme parks is going to be like.
Yeah, the conversation really it kind of took a turn that I wasn't really expecting. When you think of the future of theme parks, I guess the first thing that comes to your mind is really the technology. But ultimately, what we landed on was just whatever it takes to facilitate interaction between people.
Yeah, it's not about going bigger and better and all that. It's about working with what you already have and just making it the best it can be, really.
Well, bigger and better isn't necessarily a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, but like we were saying in the episode, it can't be make it bigger and better and let everything else that makes a theme park good fall away,
Very, very true. But ultimately, awesome episode. Thanks again to our visitor, Rick West from Theme Park Adventure and Midsummer Scream for coming on the show and chatting with us. And everybody, you could check us out, Theme Park Duo, on all social media. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope. We love periscoping from the parks. We haven't done it recently because we've been a little busy, but I apologize. We will get on there again soon.
Yes.
But we're all over social media. Just got to search Theme Park Duo. You'll find us. We also have a website,
themeparkduo.com.
And you can find a lot of really fun written articles there, press releases, original picture tours of parks, things like that. So make sure you check us out there. And then also, if you want to leave us a 5-star written review on iTunes, we would love that, and we give you a shout out on the show.
Yeah, and it really helps us. It helps our show get out there, and it makes it a lot easier for people to find us.
Exactly. Now, more importantly, Nikki, how do people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Nikki M_313. That's Nikki.
And you can always find me on Twitter at Laker793. And as always, everybody, remember, there's always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. See ya!
Thanks for riding with the theme park duo. Make sure to gather all your belongings before the end of the podcast. Bye-bye.